Well, good evening, everybody. Welcome along to Sportsbet TV. This is Paul Alster with you, and very happy to be here as the countdown continues towards the Cheltenham Festival. Of course, all roads lead to Prestbury Park, and there's going to be some amazing racing starting there in just over 10 days' time. And I'm really putting in the hours, trying to work my way through the races. Of course, we can't finalize anything until all the declarations are made and until we know the state of the ground, which is proving a little bit of a worry. I've heard the clerk of the course already talking about putting sheets down and trying to protect the ground. Well, we'll just have to hope for the best that there's no interruptions, especially with the cold snap forecast next week. If you happen to be new to this service, then please press the subscribe button just below the screen and you can get my free tips here, always each way prices each and every weekend. And despite a new service that I have, I commit to offering at least the one tip each and every weekend, and indeed for each and every day of the major festivals. Now, last week, for the second week running, we just had I just had one runner drifted like a barge in the betting. That was Southfield Harvest. And then for the second week running, as it happened the week before to one of my selections, it planted itself at the start and gave away a lot of ground. And that looked to be just a complete waste of time. The horse actually did really well once it got off and running to get back to them. And coming into the straight, go to the fourth last, it was within striking distance, but the effort of trying to close in had taken its toll, and it dropped away and faded. So that was a little bit disappointing, despite it being a very long odds runner. It's more disappointing the fact that, not that it got beat, but the fact that it might have gone, a great deal closer had it actually jumped off on terms with them. So it might be a horse just to keep half an eye on for next time out. It was wearing first-time headgear, so that might have just sent it to sleep a bit down there at the start. Well, that was the last selection of February. February proving to be a winning month, where we ended with a £56 profit to the level £10 each way stakes. And that's from a very limited number of selections, which, especially when you're betting at longer odds, makes the chances much smaller. But we've still come ahead with a profit. Of course, the winner, Mr. Freedom, who went in at 15-2, was the main contributor to that. But of course, that very good 28-1 each way place for Cloudy Glen also helped the cause. Now, of course, if you do want to follow my selections on a regular basis and multiple selections, then my out in front service at Patreon, well, that is going along as we work up now towards the Cheltenham Festival. And you may have seen my message earlier in the week, but if you didn't, it was to say that we're offering a special rate now of £25 a month all in. And that's for all my tips for all weekends, Saturday, Sunday racing, the festivals, and on those occasions when there might be something even midweek that's of interest on non-festival days. So do have a really good think about taking advantage of this, because it's going to bring you in with access to all the tips for the big festivals coming up at Cheltenham and Aintree, of course, the start of the flat, and then we move on to the classic trials and the classics and so on and so forth. Moving forward to so much great racing in Britain and Ireland. And I'll be with you all the way on Patreon at Out in Front, and you can check the link just below this screen to sign up. And if you sign up today, Friday, or Saturday, you'll be signed up in time for my selections. There are 5 selections over the weekend at Patreon for my subscribers there. But I do have the one for you here, and this is quite a big price runner. I'm going out on a limb here on one for Sportsbet on Saturday at Newbury in the 2:10 race. Now, this is a seniors handicap hurdle over the extended 2.5 miles. There are 11 runners, and the forecast going is good. And the race includes last year's winner, Bold Plan. He won it very nicely last year for Evan Williams. That was off a £3 lower mark than he's set to carry on Saturday. And it was at a time when the horse was in really good form. And that win of this race was the middle leg of a hat-trick he landed during the winter. But to be honest, he hasn't been in the same form this time around. And although they may have targeted this race, I think he's going to do really well to win, although I wouldn't completely rule it out. But Bold Plan is one obviously trying to follow up on last year's win. Now, looking at the betting for this race, Darjigiani for Harry Derham is one that's likely to be very prominent in the betting. And he showed some promise last term and won well at Uttoxeter on his latest start, going up £8. Now, that's quite a big rise, but the horse is one that I've mentioned to my clients at Out in Front in the past. And he's a horse that I think could well be fairly handicapped. And I do feel that his chance should be respected, but he may just find one or two too good this time. Now, the John Joes Junior and Senior team up here with Locks Corner, who won over this trip or thereabouts at Catterick and Ayr. Wasn't disgraced when he was fifth over 3 miles, 1 furlong last time out, which might have been plenty far enough for him. The drop back in trip is going to suit him, and he's only the £4 higher than his win at Ayr. Now, Alan King has one that I had a very close look at here, a horse called JBY, and he likes the prevailing decent ground. He was a good third over 3 miles at Newbury 3 weeks ago and has gone up £1. Whether he's going to be ideally suited by the drop-in trip, I'm not sure, but he will be very much on the premises, I'm sure. And amongst others with a chance, give me a moment for Richard Bandy, winner of a couple of novice hurdles during the summer. Then something went amiss first time in a handicap off this mark at Worcester in September. He's back after 5.5 months off, and any money for that one would be of interest. And then the likes of Pylon for Christian Williams and What's Up With You for Ben Pauling. Ben Pauling doing really well at the moment. His horses are in great form. There are others that you wouldn't rule out. But after giving it plenty of consideration and looking for one for you at a price in this race, the horse I like is called Omendini, and he's trained by Philip Hobbs and is the mount of Ben Jones. Now, it's quite an interesting horse, this, a 9-year-old who's been consistent during his time over hurdles. He's won 3 of 19 and he's placed 6 times more, so almost a 50% strike rate for the place at least. His last win came at Newton Abbot over 2 miles for 5 furlongs on good ground in August of 2021, where he absolutely dotted up by 10 lengths off a mark of 121. Now, he's not the first horse who didn't really take to chasing after that in 2 starts. And clearly something went amiss on the second of those chase starts because he was off for 15 months after that. And then after running at Newbury in a handicap hurdle in November of 2021. Now, the interesting thing about this horse is he came back and he raced really keenly on his first start after a 1.5 years off. And that was at Wincanton just 2 weeks ago. Now, it was a race I happened to be watching because I was interested in another horse that day. But he ran with the choke out from the front. But I was surprised that having been off so long, he managed to stay with them until he was headed 2 out. And then he weakened and dropped away, and he wasn't at all knocked about. I think he'll certainly be better for the run. He's gone down £1. He's back to his last winning mark. The trip and the ground are ideal, so it'll be no surprise to see him go really well with the rider that he doesn't bounce on his second run back after that quite long absence. So I do think he's got quite a bit going for him, and I suggest that you take a look at the odds that are on offer. Now, the last time I took a glance, and we're looking here at sort of Friday tea time-ish, he was 20 to 1 each way best offer for 4 places with William Hill. And I think that's a pretty sporting bet. So he's the one that I commend to you for this Saturday to take a really good look at. And as I said earlier, if you're interested in the 5 other selections that I have, 4 of them Saturday and 1 on Sunday, you can take a good look at the Out in Front service at Patreon and decide whether or not you'd like to sign up for the full package for half price at £25 a month. And of course, there's also no commitment. You can leave whenever you want. I'm perfectly happy to stand by my performance on my tipping services. So that's the way we are at Sportsbet for this weekend. Let's hope Omendini runs well for us. And I look forward to speaking to you again at same time next week. Best of luck with whatever you back this weekend. Bye-bye for now.